Hi, welcome to Reality You and You Foundation. So today we have with us, somebody who you do relate to. She's been a TV presenter, a creator of her own YouTube channel, WAC. Frisha, thank you for being with us here. So a little more about Frisha. I think she has hosted over 500 live events. Frisha, you have your own Instagram, you have your YouTube channel. I'm going to shift the focus on to you to give us a little more information on how, you've been coping through the pandemic. How has it been for you in terms of events?
So in terms of events, unfortunately, the industry took like such a big, it was a massive downfall. And the biggest problem that did happen is that even though live events had to completely stop, what did happen is that human beings were so flexible and were so adaptable, right? When we come across a certain brick or a wall, there's two types of people. There's flight, and there's fight, and there's freeze.
Yes.
And the event industry tried to not freeze, but they tried to fight. And the virtual world is something that completely came about with virtual events. But that being said, there was very little of it. And it was very tough to convince clients to get them on board. So it's not been easy. And Shraddha, thank you so much for having me and giving me a chance to kind of talk to people right now, because I think it's so important for all of us to come together and start having very honest conversations.
Yes.
Especially at a time like this.
Yeah, and I think that's the entire, goal of our talk today. So, Frisha, you've been a public figure for the last decade. How has this journey been for you? Tell our viewers about, being an anchor for numerous shows, numerous shows. How has it been for you? How has your journey been?
It's actually very, very tough. From the outside, this is the kind of world that looks very glamorous. I'm jet setting, I'm going to different parts of the world, I'm dressing up, I'm wearing gowns, I'm meeting some of the most interesting personalities that I could never have imagined that I would encounter. But at the same time, you have to understand that, like everybody else, the industry that I'm in, the competition is tough. The competition is ever prevalent. Right. It's very kind of tough to and difficult to be on the top and keep your game up there. Right. And it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of working on yourself. It takes a lot of expanding your mind. And that's kind of where, I was so grateful that simultaneously my YouTube channel just came along, and it was something that I wanted to do. And then I said, okay, you know what, it's fitting in with everything. And it's not like my YouTube channel is a travel log where I would be like, hey guys, I'm today here and I've come to do this event. It's completely different information. Right. But what it did is that it allowed me to be a multidimensional personality.
Wow.
And I think that is something, especially in today's day and age, is very, very important. And it's something that I talk about a lot on my channel as well.
So, Frisha, what keeps you going? What was, you've been consistent in this journey. Like you said, it's been hard work. What was that factor that kept you going? Because there are setbacks and failures at every juncture. There is a lot of competition that you spoke about.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty good with rejection.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that really, really keeps me going. I'm pretty resilient in that sense. I'm human also at the same time. I will not take that away. It's not like every time I get rejected, I'm like, ha, theek hai. If it consistently happens, like any human being, I also feel very bad. But what it does to me at the same time is that I don't let it bring me down.
Right.
I don't let it become a wall. And then I don't stop. So I think that I have that in that thing where I'm just like, okay, theek hai. It didn't work out. It's all right. We've hit a wall, but it doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
Right.
There's still so much more to discover and do.
Great. So, Frisha, with your YouTube channel, like you said, sometimes when you hit a wall, you feel lost and aimless. how did the YouTube channel take over? You have to constantly create content. You have to be motivated within, and which is
Yeah.
lacking post the pandemic.
Yeah. Especially during this pandemic, motivation is very, very difficult. And that keeping that consistency going, I'm not going to say that that I'm like a pro at it and I've aced it. I have my good days and I have my bad days. And when I have a bad day, I'm very aware that I need to recognize that it's there.
Right.
Maybe it's a day that I need a little bit of self-love. Maybe it's a day where I need to just pause, slow down, because I've gotten so clamored with all my thoughts and like, ye karna hai, wo karna hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai, that everything has become muddled in my head. So I think what really also helps is understanding when you have gone and pushed yourself a little too hard.
Right.
And it's okay to say, I'm not going to work today. We have huge difficulties in turning around and saying, your friend calls and saying, what are you doing? Everybody wants to say, I'm busy.
Right.
But we have huge difficulties in saying, I'm doing nothing today. I've taken some time out because I really need it. And you do. We've blurred the lines between working hard and being a workaholic.
Right. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, there is this big difference between the two, and we kind of need to understand like what each one really, really entails.
So when you sit down and, create content, what are the motivating factors for you? We were in a lockdown. There's not much we can do in terms of travel or going out. What would be some of the motivating factors on a daily basis?
Well, I think you answered it over there with the question only. For me, obviously, what happened is that one source of not just my livelihood, but one source of something that I looked forward to every day was completely snatched away. It took a little bit of time for like the virtual events and all of that to kick off. And it's not like there was one every day to do.
Right.
So it left me with a little bit of free time. I had the channel anyways, but I wasn't giving it as much time as I would like or I should. And unfortunately, a lot of things kind of came to place with the channel as well during that entire time period. I actually had a very big legal battle with the channel. Okay. And so for 2 years, there was no content that I was able to put out. And it was locked in like this whole legal thing. So the papers and the whole thing, everything came to me in the beginning of March.
Wow.
Last year. And then, the pandemic was called and the rest is history. And so somewhere along, the timing of it also worked out for me. Right. But I think one of the biggest motivating factors is also the people. When somebody writes to me and says, thank you so much. It was just that one sentence that you said that changed my life. Or it was just that one paragraph, what you said at 1 minute and 30 seconds, where sometimes I'd be scratching my head and I'd be like, Acha, maine kya bola wo time pe? And they'll be like, that really just helped me figure my life out, or it gave me answers to a lot of questions. That is something that is really, really self-satisfying and motivating at the end of the day.
Okay. And Frisha, since you are right now on a very large digital platform, you do have a lot of days where you get likes, dislikes, and this graph keeps fluctuating, I think, on the internet across all platforms. How does one sort of cope with this? Because we've been seeing a lot of teenage depression. We've seen through the pandemic a lot of people starting their YouTube channels or their Insta accounts, but I'm not sure if the youth primarily knows how to cope with it.
I also think what's unfortunately happening is that people think it's really easy.
Right.
I mean, not the best example, but my nephew, he's 7. Okay. What do you want to do when you grow up, or like, what are you interested in? I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and then within a few months, I'll have 1 million subscribers. And I'm like, I hope you do, because I love you and I wish only the best for you, but it's not that easy. And we are right now surrounded with so much of what we think is instant success. And we think is like instant, like, acha, I'll just start a channel and then that's it. I'm going to get thousands of subscribers and thousands of likes. There is a thing of blurred realities. People don't understand that it doesn't really work like that. There's very, very few people to whom that happens. Let's
Right.
take, for example, that Pauri girl. Okay.
Right.
She just made that one video and overnight she had 1 million subscribers. Now, however she managed to get it, but something that she did went completely viral. But this, what we are talking about, is like really 1 in a million. We don't see this very often. We don't see this kind of instant success. And young kids today don't realize that that's the reality. It doesn't come very quickly.
Right. I think this is a very important, Frisha, from a psychological point of view, you're looking at instant gratification from the internet, right? You're satisfying every urge or desire. And in realistic life, that does not happen. Like you said, there's a lot of competition. So, how do you think, what are the principles of, YouTube becoming an influencer is a new career path for some people today. And like you said, everybody is getting very fascinated by the internet right now. So what are some of the tips that you are going to suggest to our viewers?
So I think one very important thing is that we need to start realizing that the influencer doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
What does exist is the content creator. Okay. And I think it's very important, first of all, to people to realize that there is a big difference between the two. Once you are an established content creator, then you influence your audience. And
right.
they like what you say, they trust you. Most importantly, they trust what you say. Then you are able to influence them and their minds.
Right.
So if you're a young person starting out, you should not, first of all, turn around and say, I want to be an influencer. What you want to be is a content creator.
Right.
What is your niche? What is your voice? What is it that you want to tell the world? Even if you want to tell them something through your dance, even if you want to tell them something through your makeup, that is your art. But you need to realize that don't start off saying, I want to be an influencer, because why will people listen to you?
Right.
Why will people trust you? Unless you create a voice for yourself, a personality for yourself, a niche for yourself, then that will automatically happen. Like I always say, I'm not an influencer, I'm a content creator.
Right.
So that's the first thing that I think people need to realize, that who are you? What is your voice? And what is it that you want to tell the world? And how you want to tell it will be then however you do it, right, Shraddha? Like you do it through talks like this.
Right.
I do it on my YouTube channel. Somebody could even do it through mixing drinks and making cocktails. But
right. But I think what is important is, it has to have some purpose or meaning to also define who you have been and what you want to contribute to the community.
Exactly. You only telling somebody to buy something is not going to really give you a very strong voice. That's not a long-term game.
Right.
So if you want to really be in it in the long term, you have to really focus on creating a voice for yourself. So that's the biggest thing, and that's like your base.
Right.
I think the next thing is consistency, like we just spoke about. There are some days that I will put a video out and there'll be like only 10,000 views, and I'll be like, what? Why? This is so good. Why is nobody watching it?
Yeah.
And then I'll put another video out and then it's got 4.5 lakh views. So you have to also realize that all of this is not real. It's not. These things, they're not tangible. We can't hold them. We can't catch them. They're not something that you can physically attach yourself to. So realize that you need to realize that very, very, very quickly, that I can't hold on to any of this. It's all in the air. Basically, it's all in the air.
Frisha, I would say for the youth, I think that's easy said than done, because we do know, and a lot of research has been focused on social media and self-esteem and confidence. And we do know that a lot of the self-esteem issues are coming from, certain apps specifically, whether it's a Snapchat or an Instagram or a Twitter. So we do know that this is directly, like you said, it's not attached to your identity. But unfortunately, because of the instant gratification that people are getting, they do see a lot of depression, or, of course, like you said, 4 lakh views and you're feeling absolutely great about yourself. And then when you do not have that on the next video, you're feeling a down. How would you manage this?
I guess, I don't know, Shraddha. Is it because I'm just like maybe a little older and I'm a generation that also grew up without this?
Right.
So I was able to find a voice, or maybe just make peace with myself and who I am, and understand that what I see on social media is not real in that sense. For me, what are the biggest likes would be that my friends love me, that my family loves me, that I have people around me that I can maybe like reach out to, because they are more tangible and they're more real than compared to the likes that I get. And I think the biggest thing that people need to understand also is that everything can be bought on social media. So we've heard stories of like really big actors, and I mean, like even that Kardashian woman, Kim Kardashian, like someone as big as her was accused of buying followers in the beginning.
Right.
So we need to also understand that these are things that people are buying and they're manipulating you anyways. And I'm not saying everybody buys. I don't buy views and I don't buy likes, which is why I'm not in the millions anyways. I could, and then I would think like, okay, great, I've got all this going. But young people need to realize that I can buy it also.
Right.
So then how
it's more of a business model. And so I think what you're trying to say is use the internet as a voice, but on a very business platform. Don't personalize it to your identity and how it's going to make you feel on a daily basis.
And like you just said, it's much easier to say this than to really apply it.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that's very important that also young people need to realize is that you need to just constantly keep working on yourself. Then you will really realize what your self-worth is. I feel like when you're also working on yourself and you're working on your personality, you're working out, you're working on your development, whatever it is that you're doing, you will slowly be able to kind of distance yourself from all of this and yet be part of the game. Right. Because this is work for some of us. This is what we do for a living. And we're also able to kind of distance ourselves from it and treat it as just that. Great. I think one of the biggest things that young people don't do right now is read. The art of reading. I mean, you tell me, because you meet so many young people.
Yeah. I just put up an article on that yesterday. Yes, I think that is, what is happening currently, at least for the last 1.5 years, I would say, is the internet addiction, so constantly. And I've had kids who come and tell me that, we are on Instagram for 6 hours every day, and that's a lot of time being spent. Like you said, you have family, you have friends, you have school work, but it is primarily looking into everybody's content and seeing how many followers they've got and what are they doing, and how popular they're becoming. So is it, what are your thoughts on the digital addiction? Like you said, this is primarily the work that you're doing. Would it also lead to some form of addiction for you?
Of course. I have to constantly work on myself. And I have to constantly be very aware of the fact, like at the end of the week, my phone gives me like your screen time notification. Yes. So every Sunday I get that and I open it and I'm like, oh man, this was like a bad week. I do a lot of my work on my phone as well. but it will tell you how much time you spend on productivity and how much you did spend on social media.
Right.
And what I have a tip, and this is something that I do when I know that I'm going through like a bad month or something. I do what is called as the X effect. So especially at a time like this in a pandemic, what do? We can't go out, we can't meet our friends. If I'm watching a movie or I'm watching something, also if I'm not on social media, I'm still on a screen in some other form through my surfing or whatever. So what I do is it's called the X effect. Have you, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's like a calendar that you make for yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And what you do is you mark out, like, I'm going to make this month's calendar. All right. Now I'm going to take 4 colors which denote 4 things that I want to do in the day, which does not involve a screen.
Yes.
So let's say I want to work out for 1 hour. I want to make sure that I read for 20 minutes. I want to make sure that I get up and I walk for 5 to 10 minutes after every 1 hour or 1.5 hours of being on the screen. And I want to make sure that I do 20 minutes of meditation at night. Now what I will do is every day I've given each of them 1 color, and then I will tick mark that I did that in the day. So you're holding yourself accountable, and you're also looking for things other than a screen.
Yes.
To do.
Right.
So
in terms of digital cleanse, right? And that's the new terminology we are using.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you suggested you're doing currently.
Yeah. So yours could be, 15 minutes of drawing. It could be like 20 minutes of like maybe craft, or 15 minutes of going into the kitchen and making a smoothie or making a brownie or baking a cake once a week also. Chalo, start with that also. But you will slowly start thinking of things and looking for things that becomes your X effect, which is your digital cleanse. Because where do we go? What do we do? We're all sitting at home.
Right. And Fisher, a lot of people don't, public figures, especially who do have a lot of social media accounts. They don't tend to talk about, the trolling or the mental health issues that they are having with the accounts. But I'm sure everybody is going through some or the other. We have seen in the last year, some accounts, being deleted completely because they feel and, they cannot handle the trolls. How would you handle your account and the trolling specifically?
So this is something that me and a friend of mine started last year, where it was called Bleed the Troll. Where, I mean, there's 2 different kinds of trolling that does take place. There is, unfortunately, something that women, we get subjected to, which is indecent trolling.
Right.
Where people send us really dirty messages, really ugly, vulgar pictures, where they try and, say terrible things to you in a very vulgar and indecent way. Then, of course, there is the other kind of troll who's just like, hey, you're so dumb, or shut up, or I don't know.
Yes.
I find it much easier to ignore the other ones because, they're people who go to their page and see them. Yeah. They're pages that are made just to go onto other people's pages and be mean. They have no posts, they have no followers. So understand that is a person that doesn't really have a life. Right. The fact that they went and they made another account where they will sit and find people where they can go and write these kind of things, you should be like, that's so sad. And understand that that's a really sad person that you're dealing with. And there's no way that they should come into your mental brain space.
So how would you sort of create that detachment or that distance between, the comments that are made on every post for you? So we need to have boundaries, mental boundaries, and very strong ones.
Yeah. Because Shraddha, a lot of what I say, I really stand for and I really believe in. So unless I went and I made a mistake, and if I did, and people started coming at me for, saying something wrong or saying something, I would recognize it and I would apologize for it. But if you are coming at me for something that I truly believe in, or something that I've said that makes sense, and you're just being silly and pointless, I feel bad for you. That's how I deal with trolls. I feel bad for them. I'm like, this person has no common sense. That also being said, maybe because I'm blessed with a following, my followers go after that person.
Okay. That's
Yeah. So, yeah. So there's a certain amount of like, because I ignore them, I completely ignore them. And then there'll be people who'll be like, God, you don't know who she is. You don't know what it is that she does. Like, I'll have people saying, oh, you useless person sitting at home. You just think that you can go and put up a photo and say whatever you want. You don't know who I am. You don't know what I have done with my life. And I'm so confident about who I am. I don't need to pay attention to you. Forget that.
Krisha,
But sorry.
I'm going to stop you at that point, right? And so, like you said, you're very confident with who you are and what you're doing. And
Yeah.
so through this journey, how did you realize what you wanted to do? How do you keep that belief, that self-conviction, keep going?
So I completely understand that at a young age, it's very, very difficult to tap into who you are. We're not born with this, it's really stupid when we keep turning around and telling 5-year-olds, when you grow up, what do you want to do?
Right.
5-year-old going to know what he wants to do when he grows up.
Right.
Till today, what I want to do has been changing and evolving. So yes, I understand that for young people, it's not easy to tap into that very quickly. But I'm going to say this again. Working on yourself. And working on yourself does not mean posting on Instagram and looking hot and cute and putting up dance videos. You're not working on yourself and your personality like that. But working on yourself, exercising, reading the right things, working out, I said that already. All of that will really allow you to go in a direction where you will try and start figuring out for yourself who you are and what you are. That being said, Shraddha, I have had many professions through my life. I was doing theater.
Yes.
Then I was doing radio. Then I did TV for 5 years where I was acting. And now I'm doing my events, which I've been doing for like 8-9 years consistently. And I've got my YouTube, which I've just started. And I'll probably keep changing. I think like in 2-3 years, the plans that I do have are somewhere in line with all of this, but it'll be something new. So if you can make peace with yourself that I will be an ever evolving, ever changing person, then maybe you'll also start discovering yourself more and more.
I think, Prisha, that's very, very important because, the brain is always developing. And as you can see, people are having multiple facets to their personality now. You can be, an active voice on the internet and you can have your stable 9 to 5 job. So I think having that and working on it, you can keep your hobbies alive on the net and still, be a banker, for example. So I think that's very important, but a key ingredient there is the flexibility of the mind. So you're open to take the risk, you're open to have, like you said, I'm open to fail or to get rejection. So in terms of using social media effectively, Prisha, what are some of the suggestions that you have? Because you've seen us go into a second lockdown right now, the usage of the internet has gone to a different level. The brain is not equipped to handle so much content from everywhere. So where do you see the youth going lost? What are the effective strategies forward?
I think you definitely need to, it's called doom scrolling, right? Where we suddenly go into this trap and we're like, okay, one COVID story leading to the next, leading to the next, leading to the next. What we have to understand is that the algorithm is designed that way. Okay. So you need to change your algorithm. You need to change your social media feed.
Right.
You need to bring in, you need to maybe go, let's say I come to your page, okay, and I see who all you are following. Because I like you and I feel like, okay, I can learn from you. Go to
Right.
the people who inspire you, go to their page, see who they are following, start following those people, so that you start bringing in new voices, you start bringing in new interesting content into your feed, so that the doom scrolling that is taking place, maybe that starts changing. And I do this time and again, Shraddha. If I find someone that I meet and I'm like, oh wow, this person's really cool, like he's like got a really nice voice, I go to their page, I see who all they are following, I follow those people, I unfollow a few people, just so that my feed changes a little bit, it's a little fresh, it's new. So that I think would be one thing that you could definitely do. And the next thing, like I said earlier, you have to figure out things that you can do which don't involve a screen. You just have to.
So
We're going to,
in terms of pursuing your passions, what are we looking at the net? What is the internet globally going to help? Like you said, there was a generation where we did not have these apps, and you and me are from that generation. Of course, we are
yeah,
using it right now, but today we are looking at children, who are born into this generation, that they have constant information and guidance from the internet. So like you said, reading books is a reality, but I think not many children are adapting to that right now. So
yeah,
in terms of, looking at feeds, like you said, looking at mentors, what are
yeah.
some of, like you said, you're looking at people, is that from your industry? Is that from other industries? No?
Yeah, yeah, these are people who are absolutely not from my industry. Like there is a sports psychologist, a gentleman called Shaimal.
Right.
I love his work, and I love, the way that he thinks. And I go and I check out his stuff. Then there is Mind Valley.
Yeah.
There's also the owner of Mind Valley, a guy called Vishen. So I go to his private page as well. I mean, I've done that just to revamp my thing. Then I'm also very interested in terms of just like spirituality and the universe and manifestations and things like that. So I follow a few pages like that. There's a gentleman called Joe Rogan who, so let's say the youth is not interested in reading, fair enough. But podcasts are something that are so cool.
Yes.
And even if you feel like, okay, I don't have the brain, not the brain space, I don't have the attention span for just sitting and listening to something, I would say most of the very famous podcasts, they're on YouTube as well in the form of video.
Yes.
So if you feel like, okay, I can pay more attention when I listen, when I can see people talking as well, that same podcast, it would probably be really easy for you to find it in the video form as well. So there's a gentleman called Joe Rogan, and he has some in the most interesting people from all over the world who come and chat with him. So I think there's a way, maybe there's a way that we can figure it around it with the kind of technology that does exist right now. And
So Prisha,
yeah,
primarily you're keeping your interest alive through the net, right? You're learning, you're keeping your learning journey on, you're keeping
yeah,
the growth on, you're exploring
yeah,
different things.
yeah. The learning curve should never stop. Basically, that's what it is. The learning curve should never stop because it is going to make you so dull and it is going to make you age so badly that you won't even realize. And everybody, at some point, we're all going to get out. At some point, this pandemic is going to stop and we're all socially going to be in situations, and you don't want to come out of this being a dull person. You want to come out of this being the most interesting person in the room, saying, hey, I heard this really cool fact about how they discovered diabetes through this Indian scholar in the 5th century.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, so I think what you said, the pandemic is going to end, and we've seen Israel as a country. Today they roam without mask, thanks to the vaccination program. Yes, so the pandemic is going to end, and what is the growth journey for you in the pandemic? Frisha, thank you for being here. I just want, some emotional sort of tips that you can give us, or feeders that you can give the viewers on how to maintain, a healthy lifestyle on social media.
I think one of the biggest things for us to maybe have a sense of reality, and I said this on a podcast that I did for St. Xavier's. How do you get a sense of actual reality based on what you are watching virtually? What you should realize is that everybody that you are watching, that you are seeing, is human. And that it's going to make you laugh, but once in a while you just have to realize that even Oprah Winfrey takes a shit. Okay. Right. She's human. Everybody that you are watching is human. They are also getting up in the morning and brushing their teeth and having a bad day, just like you. And if you just once in a while remember that visual and remind yourself that it's all, it's there for you to see, and there's other aspects to these people, maybe, hopefully, it'll also allow you to have a better and a more amusing day. And don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, Prisha, I wanted to just point out from there is, this whole perfectionist personality that we see on all these posts. And like you said, there's a difference between the real and what's online. So, in some sense, we are also getting into this perfect ideal world, which may not exist once the pandemic is over. So how would you cope with you being perfect on the screen and otherwise?
Because I'm very honest with my conversations on my Instagram. If I'm just having a really shitty day, sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? I woke up feeling damn can I use fuck? Sorry. I woke up feeling, just really upset with myself, and I woke up in a bad mood, and sometimes I'll just say it. I won't pretend that I don't have a bad day. I may not say it every single time, but I try and just keep it as real as I can. And I think that's what people appreciate.
Right. So I think we need more of people like you giving us honest conversations on the net. Having some form of digital discipline is something that we would say. Like you said, you have your screen time giving you feedback on how much screen time you've used through the week. Prisha, thanks for being here. What are your last thoughts on how the event industry is going to shape up? For some people who want to pursue this for a long time or for their career goals, what are your suggestions for them?
I think what's going to happen is that there is going to be the need for a lot of innovation, which we are already seeing. And there's going to be also the need for a lot of our clients to understand that this kind of innovation can help the industry. And for someone who wants to pursue a career in events, honestly, my feedback would be that use this time to really, really understand how it works, because you're not going to get any hands-on experience. Events are not happening, unfortunately. And that's the reality of it. So maybe you can use this time to really work on your groundwork. There are I can't remember the name of the course. It's a very good course that has just started, Shraddha, and I could give you the name and you could probably link it down as well. Sure. There's a very good course that has started for training people on back end of event work. There's a lot of MCs who have also started making modules on how to be an MC. So if you really do want to pursue something like this, use these couple of months to make your base very strong. Because once the vaccine comes in and once that kind of freedom of movement does come in, and I don't see that happening till at least November, December, because I'm talking about large gatherings coming later. So I see it being at least that much. At least you'll be prepared and you would have learned a lot.
So Prisha, recently you won an MC award.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Tell us something about that.
I won 2.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I won. I actually would never enter. And I used to never really send an entry for all these awards. But there are a few bodies whose work I really do follow. And, I said, why not? Apply karke dekhte hai. And the first one that I won is from EMA, which is the Event Managers Association of India. So it's our India body. I'm a member with them as well. And they are like really one of the most coveted bodies that you can win an event award from.
Okay.
And then I won another one as well, which was a gold with BW Applause. They do a lot of events. They are like the kings of virtual events. If you ever go onto their space, every day they have some conference, some event, something taking place. And I won a gold with them as well.
Wow, congratulations. So, Prisha, I think you need to get in the space of training. A lot of people would look at, people like you who are actually giving us realistic, honest information on how to continue their journey. So, thank you so much for being here and giving.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.